Other members
About
certainly asked
Pizzagate?
about UFOs. I'm sorry?
And UFOs? Like, what did you want to know about UFOs and Pizzagate
Well, I think everybody
that
wants
would
to know
matter
about
to survivors?
UFOs. I did.
That he takes questions about this all the time. He hasn't told us anything except what he wants to tell us, which the president is very good at designing his message and repeating.
Too.
Honestly, this was an absolute car crash of an interview for Lauren Boebert. Honestly, I just think she's an absolute donut. Excuse my language, but I just think she's a complete donut. In this clip, we're literally going to see Lauren Boebert just try to gaslight not just us, the public that are watching the clip, but as well as Chris Cuomo, and he doesn't have it. And he finally says something that I've been saying for a very, very, very long time. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. And I want to hold my thoughts and my perspective towards the end. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump into it.
And yet, the Republican has not run away. The member of Congress, Lauren Boebert, joins us right now with a Democratic colleague. Remember, here on News Nation, left and right come together to be reasonable, okay? So member of Congress, Democrat Suhas Subramaniam is here also. Now, Lauren, to be honest, okay, not only do I not care that you took the photo, but yes, I'm going to ask you and you're going to have to explain it, but I can't come at you because you were one of the champions of wanting to release this. And, you know, you've been on it from jump. You've been an advocate of it for the right reasons. So to me, you've got high ground. But what was this about? You trying to make some money on the side?
No, Chris. So I did ask permission of committee staff, and I was told that I could release a photo during the break. And we missed that break by just a few minutes. So it was a few minutes before our break. And then we quickly came together and all agreed no photos will be taken, no photos will be released. However, there were Democrats and those in the minority party that were releasing information about the hearing throughout the day. Topics that were discussed were being leaked to the media. And so there was a lot of things that were coming out of that room. But regardless, it was a photo. It was taken before the hearing had began, and it wasn't released at the break time. And now we have come to an agreement that no members or staff will take pictures in the hearing. But you're right, Chris. I have been an advocate for getting justice for the victims from the beginning, and that is why I went against my party and I forced this vote and forced the release of these files. And we are starting to see what is in them. Unfortunately, we don't see enough. And that is part of why we are having this bipartisan deposition. Democrats and Republicans put forward a subpoena for the Clintons, and Democrats and Republicans voted to hold them in contempt of Congress when they failed to uphold that subpoena. So here we are today, and tomorrow I think will be hopefully more enlightening once we have former President Bill Clinton before us.
I'm still trying to get past the fact that you gave it to Benny Johnson. I mean, of all the people to feed. All right, but I'll let it go. Let me ask you something, Lauren, and then I want to bring Suhas in on the same question. Why is it a closed-door deposition? Why isn't it open? We all know, all three of us know, the only way to repair trust in our institutions is through transparency. Why do it this way?
I agree with you, Chris. And this is the agreement that the minority and majority had together through conversations. I do like the idea of a deposition better than a regular hearing because there is more time, and there's more time to get into depth with a lot of these questions rather than just 5-minute clips here and there. So I would welcome the press to be in there, but this is the agreement that was made, and that's the way we are going to finish these depositions. I am all for transparency. So you're not going to hear an argument from me about closed door anything. I loved it when we had the speakers fight right there in front of the American public, and that wasn't a closed door meeting. It was right there for everyone to debate, for all to see. And that's how I believe the government should work. And this is how you end up with really swampy, bad deals for the American people all around. So I'm with you, but this is the agreement that was made.
All right. Suhas, come on in on this. What did you learn today in the room with the former Secretary of State?
Yeah, we didn't learn much. I mean, she sent us a sworn declaration that she'd never met the guy, that she didn't really have a relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. And that's what she said over and over and over again for basically 7 hours. And so, we didn't learn anything. And I think as far as transparency, I think it would have been great to have the press come in. And they asked for the press to come in. We in the minority have been asking for this to be a public hearing. Let's make it a public deposition then. Let's make tomorrow's deposition of Bill Clinton public because he wants to do it. Anyone who's willing to talk to us publicly, let's allow them to do that instead of doing it behind closed doors. This was a majority decision to do that. And the minority, we've been wanting this to be public because the Clintons were willing to make it public.
Now, what do you think you need in this situation? I feel like it's been ignored. Why aren't you guys calling for the Attorney General to explain why so much was redacted, why the law wasn't followed? Most recently, with what we're being told, I can't substantiate it, but that allegations that involved President Trump were removed and put back and maybe changed. Doesn't that have to be explained?
Well, the Attorney General is violating the law, right? We passed a law that was signed in December saying you had to release all of the files, right? So, she went before the Judiciary Committee and she just evaded the question the whole time and just attacked members of the committee. But I would like her to come before us. We actually tried to hold her in contempt too. If you're going to hold the Clintons in contempt, hold her in contempt as well, right? Because she's covering up just as much. Hold other people who have not been responsive or given us more in contempt. But that's not what's happening. I think we need to stop playing politics, partisan politics with this, and treat everyone the same to get to the answers that we need.
Let me ask you something, and Suhas, and I'm going to ask you the same thing, Lauren. There's the old adage, the cops say, hey, you, stop. And the guy runs. And then they chase him down and they grab him. He goes, I didn't do anything. They say, well, why did you run? That is one version of why Bondi removed information about allegations against President Trump. The other version of it is the end of that story that we never hear, which is the guy says, stop. He runs. They catch him. He says, I didn't do anything. They say, why did you run? And he says, because I know what you guys do to people that you catch. That is the second version, that the reason that they may have finessed some of the allegations against President Trump is because they know you guys are on a jihad to take them down. What do you think of that suggestion?
If the president did nothing wrong and has nothing to hide, then he should release all of the files. It's as simple as that, but that's not what has happened. In fact, he's done the opposite. He has not been as transparent with the American people. Now we have evidence that some of the files not released was stuff about him. So again, if he did nothing wrong, then just release the files. You can protect victims in doing so, but there's 2.5 million files here, and not all of them are protecting victims. The victims themselves have said that.
Lauren, is it unfair of me to say, if there was a D after this guy's name instead of an R as President of the United States, and you learned that the sitting Attorney General had removed some allegations and then put them back, wouldn't you be jumping up and down?
Well, we are looking to see if things were removed. We've also heard from the victims directly who exonerated President Trump, saying that he did nothing wrong. Also, President Trump answers questions from the press on this very topic regularly. Hours of questions have been asked of him, and this is something that he answers to the press. He talks to the press on a daily basis. So President Trump isn't somewhere where we cannot reach him, cannot hear from him, cannot have him explain. I think that is much different than folks who are unreachable, who take 7 months to actually comply with our committee while we are trying to work in good faith with them to get responses and get their participation. So that is a category with President Trump. And Chris, this is not a bipartisan issue for me. This is about women who were trafficked. This is important to me,
Understood.
and I want whoever was involved in this to be held accountable. There have been victims who came before the Oversight Committee and have had press conferences at the United States Capitol that said President Trump did nothing wrong. So he has been exonerated by some of those victims. And if there is more that is going to come out, then let it come out. I want everything released in totality. You know, you've already heard the frustrations that many of us are having. Even when we go to the DOJ, there are redactions under the redactions, the files that we are supposed to see redacted. And we aren't looking for very inappropriate images of children, but there are names that we want to see. And and that is very problematic for me as well. I have been talking with the DOJ about getting those released, and there still needs to be more information to come out on this.
I challenge you on 2 points. One is that he takes questions about this all the time. He hasn't told us anything except what he wants to tell us, which the president is very good at designing his message and repeating. Too. Look, that's what pros do. I mean, especially in a deposition setting. That's why I don't know why you do it this way. Anybody who's sophisticated, who's sitting next to their attorney, is going to answer questions in a very specific way about this. But, you know, the president saying, the second point that I challenge is, he hasn't been exonerated. Exonerated means that we have reviewed the facts and you are, in fact, innocent. Not we can't make the case, not there's not enough proof, but you literally did nothing wrong. We do not know that about him or really anybody.
And I'm just saying, in the opinion of these victims that told us he did nothing wrong. So I'm not saying in a court of law he was exonerated.
To them. To them, I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like, to them, that may well be their truth. Fine. How do we get to the bottom of what's going on by asking Hillary Clinton about UFOs and Pizzagate, Lauren?
Well, you know, those topics did come up, and there are things within the Epstein file that leads to these questions. These files open up a whole mess, a whole trove of questions to go down. And, you know, Hillary Clinton being connected so tightly with John Podesta, who's connected with Anthony Weiner, and all of these things, they all kind of tie together, especially when you're talking about women who are being trafficked. So this isn't to highlight some big vast conspiracy about a pizza parlor, but I think there needs to be questions, and I asked some questions on this topic that should be explained. There wasn't an explanation given, of course, and then other members
about
certainly asked
Pizzagate?
about UFOs. I'm sorry?
And UFOs? Like, what did you want to know about UFOs and Pizzagate?
Well, I think everybody
that
wants
would
to
matter
know about
to survivors?
UFOs. I did not ask that question, but I mean, there certainly are questions out there, and there was connections within the Epstein files that led to those questions. There are 3 million files there. You can go a lot of different ways with
I know,
the
but it's
information
like,
that's in there.
You know, if we want people to take this seriously and believe it's not a fishing expedition,
She actually
it's like
seemed
somewhere
pretty inquisitive about it. She was interested herself.
I'm sure she is. As long as it doesn't involve her, why not be interested? But Suhas, I feel like somewhere Kevin Bacon is like looking over his shoulder because he's going to get connected to this also. Do you have to be careful about how far down the rabbit hole you go with this?
I just want to get all the evidence out. If you're talking about the Epstein case generally, we don't know how deep it goes to begin with. We're not just talking about sex trafficking, although that's horrible, but we're now talking about financial crimes. We're talking about state secrets being shared, talking about heads of state and former heads of states all over the world. This is really bad stuff, and I think the public wants to know how the cover-up was able to happen and how we can prevent it from ever happening again. So I think we need to go as deep as we can and let the facts be out there and let the people decide, and maybe let the courts decide if we need to press charges against people.
Right. Well, you're going to have trouble with that because of the statute of limitations. You guys would have to come together and draft
Let's
a
change
look-back
that,
statute.
though. We've got laws to change that now, or at least propose.
I'm on board. Let's do it.
On the state level, but you got to be careful with look-back statutes because they can be abused. I mean, you got to have prosecutorial discretion here, which is why I don't love hearing about Pizzagate and UFOs, because there's enough real stuff. You guys should be bringing in Deutsche Bank and the other banks that made settlements. Why would banks be making settlements with survivors of sexual assault? And why did Epstein get a pass on Tower Financial, the biggest Ponzi scheme before Madoff? Why did it all happen? You know, that's where I'm saying the focus should be on this stuff. That's the part. All right, I'm getting yelled at. I got to go. You see, I'm very interested into it.
Well,
also.
we're not done
Suha
with
Subramaniam.
subpoenas, so.
Yes, 100%. Look, you use the tools you have because they're not going to do it willingly, right? These guys have been quiet and got away with it, and some women too, for a very long time. Suha Subramaniam, you're always welcome here.
Honestly, I'm so glad that somebody actually pushed back on that stupid remark that Republicans in Congress keep making. President Trump was exonerated by witnesses. It's absolute BS. Abby Phillip on her show, she literally showed a clip where I think one of the Epstein survivors on MS Now literally said Donald Trump has not been exonerated because me and my sisters, i.e. she's talking about other survivors, we haven't spoke to anybody yet, so we have not exonerated President Trump. So the fact that it is that these guys are doing this, it just shows, once again, what it is that they're doing. They're still trying to protect Donald Trump, and they're still trying to insinuate that Donald Trump has done nothing wrong. But the reality is this, we don't know. But what it is that I will say is this, when you take a look at the actions and the activity of how it is that these guys are going about things and how they're conducting themselves, it's not hard to believe that, you know what? These guys are acting like a guilty party. It looks like it. It looks like it because they are constantly running cover for Donald Trump all the time. They're doing everything they can to try and defend Donald Trump. The fact that it is that she even made the comment about they've exonerated him. And then Chris Cuomo had to break it down and explain to her the reasons as to why they haven't exonerated him. That in of itself is just embarrassing. But I'll be honest, Lauren Boebert, to me, she's an absolute car crash. And she is an example of someone who is so underqualified. She should not be in the position that it is that she is. But unfortunately, she consistently keeps getting voted for. So there's nothing that you can even do about it. But let me know your guys' thoughts on this exchange. Did you see Chris Cuomo's face when she was talking about UFOs and pizzagate? He genuinely was looking confused. And I know he's probably thinking to himself, this girl's a bozo. Because she genuinely is. Release all the Epstein files. Get it done. And stop shilling and bending over backwards for Donald Trump. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this exchange in the comment section below. And hit subscribe if you're interested in an outsider's opinion on everything and all things to do with politics. American politics. See you guys in the next clip.